A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. This is a podcast of Deen of an Old Woman. Today I thought it's quite interesting by look at the descriptions of lives of man, and this was done by Abdullah Haddad, one of the Islamic scholar. He divided the lives into 5 sections, and it's quite interesting to see that because it gives us a bigger picture of our existence on this earth, so that we understand more, we get more deeper understanding and a deeper meaning to our existence, and that gives us satisfaction. So the first stage of life, he says it's pre-worldly period, which means before we came to this earth, we existed. Not with these particular bodies, but our soul were created, so we existed. And Allah tells us in the Quran that before we were born, Allah created our souls. This is our very essence that was created and will live on forever. So these souls were created, and Allah asked us, "Am I not your Lord?" And we all said, "Yes, of course, you are our Lord. You are the one worthy of worship." And that's why the concept of Tawheed, which I repeat again and again, is so important to know that there is one Allah worthy of worship. And all of us witnessed that period in our life, our souls, when they said to Allah, "You are the worthy of worship." So Allah created our soul, and this is the first stage. And the interesting thing about this is that the body lives for 60, 70, 80, mostly 100 years, but the soul will continue on for eternity, forever and ever. So that's how important it is to take care of this soul. So Allah created in this pre-worldly realm, Allah created our soul, and He said, He said, "Am I not your Lord?" And we all said yes. The body will be stopped functioning at death, but we will on and continue our journey. It is said that the real life begins at time of death, when we are just transferred from this realm to the next. Because this life is a test. It's a small period of time in our whole of our existence. So Allah gave us these 60, 70 years to test us what we do with our free will, whether we do good or whether we're bad, and that will determine our eternal final destination. So when Allah created our soul, and He questions that, "Am I not your Lord?" And when we said yes, and we lived according to that, so when we come into this life and we worshipped Allah, we have peaceful life. But when we forget, then life becomes difficult. So the first pre-worldly realm was when our souls were created. We had some form of awareness, some form of consciousness, and that's when we witnessed our Lord and we experienced this intense love and mercy, and we stated the fact that Allah is the one worthy of worship. The second stage in our life, obviously, is this world, and we all know about this world because we are in it. Though each one of us have our own journey to life, but we all experience this material world. So we can see that when we're in the womb of the mother, that's when an angel is sent down to insert the soul within the fetus. So then the fetus starts moving and kicking in the mother's womb because the soul has placed in it. So eventually, we are born into this material world, and then we grow as babies, and then we grow a little older as children, and then we grow even older and we become puberty. We reach our puberty, we become teenagers, and once we reach that puberty, it's that time when that free will kicks in and the decision making starts. So it's that time we see the world for what it is, and if we live by the revelation of God, we see the dark side of this world. But if we live by the revelation of, we can see what's wrong with this world. But if we live with the revelation of God, we also see what's good in this world, and we try to follow what's correct and what's right, so that we could benefit ourselves. And this is this worldly life, which is, Allah tells us again and again, is a test. And He tells us with so many parables and stories in the Quran to tell us that this world is a test. He gives an analogy and example of how Allah creates the vegetation, how He makes the rain and it grows into lush green, and then it goes into autumn, it goes into brown, and it's sort of crumbly and then fades away. That's how life is. As a child, we grow, we reach adulthood, maturity, our youth, and then slowly we start getting older. It's like when you look at the season, like a spring, a child, a summer is an adult, middle-aged person, autumn, and December is when we die, when we're very old. It is here in this life that Allah's revelation, the Quran, and saying that the Prophet, that we should realize what they are, we should internalize them, we should understand them, and we should implement them and try to live in order to have a peaceful life. And one of the main reasons that we live a destructive way of life is because our open enemy, which is the shaitan, which Allah reminds us in the Quran again and again, that devil is a clear enemy, and that take him as your clear enemy. Don't be tempted by the devil, because everything we are doing, if we are tempted by the devil, they will harm us. And the devil is very clever. It just persuades us bit by bit by bit by bit to do wrong. And it beautifies the things that are wrong. So eventually when we go into those wrong things, we are harmful. We harm ourselves and we damage ourselves. At every step, the devil will put a detrimental, harmful thought in our head. But when we are living with a true, authentic self, true by our natural fitrah, true to a submission of Allah, we can detect that this thought is not from us. So, especially when we live by like 5 pillars of Islam and we live a service of humanity, we know ourselves, we know where the thoughts are coming, and we don't have to act upon the thoughts that are negative. We can detect the entry of the thought, and we will not let us settle it, so it does not turn into intention and finally an action. So when the negative thoughts come from the shaitan, we can nip it in the bud. We can ignore it and pass on, because the thoughts are like clouds passing on in our head. It's up to us that we pull a thought and make intention, and we act upon it. And that's where free will and our test comes. So this life is about trying to do good always. To do good, we have to know what's good. As we have to know what's good. So, and this is only told by Allah's revelation, but the Islam and Quran encourages. So Allah encourages us to seek knowledge and to learn. How do we know what's good if we don't learn? So in Islam, knowledge is sought from the cradle to the grave, not from the primary school to university. Knowledge is a continuous endeavor of our life mission, that all our life we should seek knowledge so that we know what's right and wrong. So this life is so important, but we have to know what's good and what's bad. So, and also we have to understand that everything we're doing is being recorded and is being sent to life after this life, and then we'll see it at time of death. We'll realize what we've done. We have to take accountability and responsibility now. So when we messed up by making the wrong decisions, the doors of forgiveness are always open. We can always ask for forgiveness. This life is like painting a picture, and we are the artist. When we create a good picture, after death we'll see a beautiful picture. But if we mess it up, it's just one life. We'll see it after death, and then it'll be too late. So the third period that the scholar describes, he said, is barzakh, and that's the space between two places, an intermediate period or stay in the grave where when we die that we are placed. So that's called barzakh, and this is a between period. So when we die, we go enter that realm, and we wait in that realm for the day of judgment. And immediately at death, we know if we have succeeded in this life or not. Because at time of death, when the angel come to take our soul, it will disclose to us what we've done in our life. There are many stories that describe the reality of being in the grave, like answering the 3 questions that will determine whether we are believer or unbeliever. It's also said that when we are in our grave, our action visit us, and if we've done good and good on this earth with following Islam and assisting others in help and being good to others, this positive behavior, when we have this positive behavior, it will come in the beautiful form, and it makes us very happy in the grave. But when we've done action that are bad, that are sinful, that are ugly, that are filthy, that are disgusting, then a disgusting entity will appear in the grave, and we will be so sad and so shocked and ask this entity, who are you? And they would say, we are your deeds. How important it is for us to take account of what we do and be really serious people, to take this life as a test. The 4th one is Day of Judgment. This is the day of gathering. A trumpet will be blown, and we will all rise from our grave, just like we get up from bed every day. Islamic scholars have said that sleep should be seen as a period in the grave, and waking up the rehearsal of the Day of Judgment. And subhanallah, there's so many du'as to say when we fall asleep, and there's so many du'a we say when we wake up. We have to learn those, because that's where our salvation is. Our merciful Lord reminds us every day of our final abode, meaning that He puts us to sleep and He wakes up. So we should understand that we'll have a day of judgment where we have to wake up and give account of our action. And it's that time, which is the most crucial time, the day of judgment, where our deeds will be weighed. And it's there that we'll wait before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the angels will be there, and all the prophets will be there, and we will be judged what we've done in this life. It is said that this event will take about 50,000 years. But the years are not our time years. This is the years only known to Allah. Once we judged, every little action that we did will be scrutinized. if we have done good in this world, our record will be shown and given to in our right hand. And if we done, and then will make us extremely happy and express joy. But if we messed up in our life and done a lot of sins, wrong things that have been forbidden by God, then our record will be given in our left hand. May Allah save us from that. So Allah tells us again and again how important this life is, and how we will see the full result in the fourth stage of our life, which is the Day of Judgment. And finally, the fifth period in human's life, this is the abode where either we will enter paradise or will enter hell according to what kind of life we lived. Wallahi, we just have one life. We should be very serious about this life. Allah tells us in the Quran that we will say to Allah, "Oh Allah, send us back one more time. Now that we have seen the truth, we will live by that truth, but then it'll be too late. Nobody has come back after death." Time is like ice, it's melting away. Islam tells us to live a virtuous and productive lives by establishing justice and living by truth, establishing 5 pillars of Islam, and offering service to humanity. Allah created us with this natural fitrah that is inclined towards goodness. We just have to follow the truth and follow Allah's guidelines, and inshallah, Allah will submit us into paradise, which is forever and ever. Thank you.